Hello, all of you. Today we're shifting gears from steps and sequences to similarities and differences as we master the compare and contrast paragraph. Whether you're analyzing two operating systems, two types of energy sources, two theories of physics, or any two other items, the ability to clearly compare and contrast is fundamental to technical writing. This skill allows you to evaluate, advocate for, or simply explain complex choices. We learn how to structure your paragraph using either the point by point or block method. Welcome to Lesson 8, Comparative and Contrast Paragraphs. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to write a well-structured comparison and contrast paragraph from 8 to 10 sentences. Notice that we started with writing a simple sentence, then 3 sentences. Last time with paragraph writing, we wrote around 5 sentences, and then now we are reaching 8 to 10 sentences. We are moving progressively using either point by point or whole by whole method. You're going to be able to distinguish between two organizational methods, the point by point and the whole by whole method. You will be able to also analyze, sample, compare and contrast paragraphs and identify their structure and transitional devices. To plan and organize your own comparison and contrast paragraph using a chosen method of development, either point by point or whole by whole, also known as block. Finally, you're going to compose or write a well-structured comparison and contrast paragraph like we did with the process paragraph. We have two pictures here. What do you see in each picture? We have picture 1 and picture 2. Picture 1 represents a paper map, and picture 2 is a representation of a GPS navigation. So now I ask you, in what ways are these two items similar? Can you notice any similarities? Both help people find directions and locations. Also, they both show routes, roads and landmarks. So when you look at them, you can see all those things. And both aim to guide travelers from one place to another. These are called similarities. The next question is, in what ways are these two items different? Paper maps are printed and used manually. GPS is digital and uses satellites. The second difference between those two is paper maps don't update automatically. If you print a paper map in 2020, any changes in the map, any new buildings are not going to be shown. GPS, however, updates in real time. You can see any updates, any changes that have occurred in real time. Final difference between them, paper maps require users to find routes themselves. They show you the route or the road and you have to find it. On the other hand, GPS gives voice or visual direction to help you. This is called a Venn diagram, where we show differences and similarities between two items. What is a comparison and contrast paragraph? A comparison and contrast paragraph describes the qualities of a subject or idea or item, discussing the similarities and differences one shares with a different subject or idea. So we have two ideas or two subjects, two items If you compare between them, you're stating similarities. If you contrast them, you're stating differences. If you do both, so you are comparing and contrasting. We use this type of writing to relate the similarities and differences among things. So I tell you two types of machines and tell you write a comparison and contrast paragraph. So you state basically what is similar between them and what is different. This writing technique can be applied when it is necessary to compare and contrast different proposals, solutions to problems, improvement or design change of a conventional product with a new product, for example. You might compare two completely different items, or you compare versions of the same item. You can do that in two different ways. You either follow the structure called point by point, which is an alternating pattern. It is one of the two primary strategies. It is highly effective when you want your reader to see a direct relationship between two subjects on a specific issue. For example, I take the specific issue of battery or battery level, and I say, first, consider the battery level of both items. The MacBook Pro typically utilizes optimized hardware and software, allowing it to easily last an entire workday. Conversely, the Windows laptop, which often relies on higher power components and less unified software, generally requires a recharge after about 6 hours of sustained use. The two items I'm comparing are MacBook Pro and also Windows laptop. The point or issue we are comparing them to is battery life. I can now move into another issue, for example, the clarity of their screen, and then I compare both items until I finish comparing. So here I took the comparison point by point or issue by issue. The whole by whole development, on the other hand, also known as the block pattern, is the second primary method for organizing a compare and contrast paragraph or writing. In this structure, you discuss everything about the first subject, and then you move to discussing everything about the second subject using the same comparison point for both. For example, you start talking about the MacBook and you discuss all issues, battery life, screen, everything, and then you move to the laptop Windows and you describe everything about it in a type of comparison. But here we have block by block. In order to join sentences either in point by point or whole by whole methods, we have a set of connectors to learn. Connectors that show similarity. When we have two items that are similar, we might use like. After like, we put noun or noun phrase. We can also use similarly, likewise, in the same way, etc., in order to show similarity between two items or two ideas. For example, like a smartphone, a tablet can connect to the internet and run applications. Here we are comparing two items which are smartphones and tablets. They are similar, so I used like. Robots are programmed to follow specific commands. Similarly, automated drones operate based on preset instructions. Similarly indicate similarity. Connectors that show contrast, we use connectors like and like, different from. Those two take a noun phrase after them. Or when we join two sentences, I use in contrast on the one hand and on the other hand. I can join sentences using but, whereas, conversely, All of these indicate differences, and they show, therefore, contrast between two items or two ideas. For example, unlike the fathers in Moralia, the fathers in Houston do not watch teenagers as carefully. The pace of life in New York is very rapid. In contrast, life in Charlotte is slower. On the one hand, I enjoy fast pace of New York. On the other hand, the pace of life in Charlotte relaxes me. So we have on the one hand, on the other hand. This shows contrasts. They are different. We can also express differences using comparatives of adjectives and adverbs. For example, I say slow, slower, relaxing, more relaxing, or less relaxing, and so on and so forth. When the adjective is short, we add er than. When it is long, we add more or less plus adjective plus than. If they are similar, I say as plus adjective plus as. It is as relaxing as. A is as relaxing as B. A is more relaxing than B. A is less relaxing than B. If it is short, I say A is slower than B. Let's wrap up our lesson quickly. Comparison and contrast paragraph describes similarities and differences between two subjects, ideas, or items. It is very useful to compare proposals, solutions, products, or ideas. Very useful tool to use in your field of specialty. We can write paragraphs, comparison and contrast paragraphs, using either point by point, compare and contrast each point or feature one by one, or whole by whole. We discuss all information about one subject, then the other subject. Keep the same order of points for both. If you start, for example, talking about speed, then cost, then efficiency about item A, in item B also start talking about speed, cost, efficiency to achieve parallelism. Use linking words to show similarities like similarly, likewise, and linking words to express differences like in contrast, whereas, etc. These connectors make the paragraph coherent and easy to follow. You might also want to apply comparatives of adjectives and adverbs. By this, your paragraph is going to be well structured, parallel, and effective. Thank you for your attention. See you next session.